Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And today we are talking about a Netflix series called Worst Ex Ever. We're not going to talk about the entire series because I will tell you, I've watched all 4 episodes and it's dark. And you cannot binge this. If you've not watched these, don't binge them. But this one, we picked episode 3. I actually picked it because I thought it was really interesting. It's called Killing for Custody. And what's interesting about it is that the roles are reversed. So it's what we normally see and what we had seen, in so many of these TV shows, it's usually a man, torturing a woman or, being a narcissist and making her life hell. And if you watch episode 2 of this series, it just this one guy got it so that this woman was falsely imprisoned for 7-8 months. It's unreal. I mean, it's unreal. So this was interesting because it's really it's the woman that is the aggressor and the murderer, not the man. And also, it took place here in the Bay Area, so I thought, hey, that might work for us. So this is a story of Eric and Rosa. And so it starts off, we meet Eric, and Eric is, he's working for the county of Alameda County. And he says, he's not a very social guy, kind of shy, kind of nerdy, kind of shy. And he ends up sitting, he gets this job and he ends up sitting next to this woman, May. And he and May become friendly, and May's a bit older. And so she's fun and friendly. She has lots of friends at the company. And then in October of 2002, May invites him to go on a hike. And who was at the hike was her daughter, Rosa. And, they meet, and Rosa and Eric hit it off, and Eric's really thinks she's great. And she's talking about how she was an engineer at a tech company in Silicon Valley. And,
Was that actually true?
That I wondered about too, because she really quit that real quick. Because what I was thinking was if she had an engineering job at a company in Silicon Valley, she would be making 2 to 3 times what he would be making from working from the county of Alameda. I'm going to tell you that now. I mean, these engineers, you'd be shocked how much they make. It's unreal.
Well, this is his first real girlfriend.
Yeah.
This is his friend Ryan, who's his video game partner. Also a nerd.
Yeah.
Tells us that, this is his first real girlfriend. And, oh boy, what a doozy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we also meet Eric's dad. Who also was a little skeptical of her. And
doesn't he seem like a typical Berkeley guy?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
He had like his ears pierced, and he had these beaded bracelets on. And I'm like, I bet he's from Berkeley. He lives in Berkeley.
Yeah. So I guess things like Eric's in love, but I guess apparently his friend was very skeptical, and he was the one that said that with Rosa, she was always very quiet, and he's like, that's who you need to be careful of, the quiet ones.
Well, she was so bizarro. She wouldn't talk to anyone directly. So like if you're in a room and you ask Rosa a question, she doesn't respond to you. She whispers in Eric's ear her response, and then he gives the response. And she would also listen in on all of his phone calls.
Yeah.
And he would tell his dad, Rosa's listening in.
No, but they would have a secret word. So they'd have this secret word. And this is the part that you're kind of like, why are you, this is early on in the relationship.
Huge red flag.
And, and she's already listening in. But I think Eric just didn't have enough experience with women.
No, he's never had a girlfriend. He fell for this girl quickly. She obviously liked him.
Or the mom told her to like him.
She was acting as though she liked him. Let's put it that way. So I guess he didn't know any better.
Yeah. But, it's interesting because they meet in October of 2002, and he proposes to her on Valentine's Day of 2004. So we're like a year and a half out a bit. So there's been some time, but again, I think she put up a really good act for a long time. Mm-hmm. But, everyone's like, he proposes, she says yes. Everyone's so excited. Eric is very, very close with his grandmother who, what was her? Her real name was Selma, but she went by Sally. And at this point, she's in her late 80s, and she's really excited. And, but, tensions were already starting a bit. He was saying that, May and Rosa were really tight. May had a very forceful personality and would step in a lot, sometimes with their fights. But Eric felt like things were really coming together for him. He's had this job. He has this new, this woman he's going to marry. His life is happening. And so then a year after that, April 2nd of 2005, they get married. And they're on their honeymoon, and they're on this 2-week honeymoon. And, apparently there had been lots of fights leading up to the wedding. And, weddings make people a little crazy. But she seemed always agitated. And apparently 1 week into the honeymoon, they get into a fight, and she swings at him as she's going to punch him, and he ducks it. But things are the wheels are coming off the rails here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
already
coming off the bus.
Yeah.
So so they get back from the honeymoon, and well, he says they're having money problems, which again doesn't really track with, her being a engineer in Silicon Valley.
Well, apparently it sounds like he paid for the wedding and he paid for the honeymoon.
Right. He put it on a credit card or something. He said he was in debt because he did that. But she immediately, she was manipulative, angry all the time. She began to try to separate him from his friends and family. He stopped talking to everyone. He stopped talking to all his family. And then within a few months, she got pregnant.
Yeah.
And I guess when she got pregnant, sort of, is that he?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I've lost my train of thought.
Okay. Well,
anyway.
No, she got, a few months after that, she gets pregnant, but she also at this time decides to quit her job. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if she had quit her job before the wedding, or if she maybe never really had a job.
I didn't think she ever had a job. I think that was a lie.
So you think that she never worked in Silicon Valley?
Because why did he have to go into debt for the wedding? If they're going to get married, that doesn't make sense. It's going to become her debt. She should just help pay for it. I don't know.
Well, even if she did work there, she didn't save any money because apparently she had nothing. But yeah. And so they have the baby. I think it's June of 06. And so poor Eric, he is now working 2 jobs. He is working. I don't know how you even get from point A to point B.
Survive. Yeah.
8:30 to 5. He's working his day job at the Alameda County. And I'm sure that job's really good. I'm sure the benefits are really good, but those aren't like really high paying jobs. The Bay Area is expensive. So then he would go to from 11:30 at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. He worked at a pharmacy and he worked there on the weekends.
Yeah.
So he was like, I wasn't getting any sleep. I'm like, when did you sleep? Because you have a half hour from one job to the other. So you basically have from 5 o'clock to 11:30 to sleep at night.
Yeah. And you got to get home. You got to drive home. By the time you get home, actually fall asleep. Then you kind of like,
you got to eat dinner. Yeah.
Eat, maybe sleep for 2 hours, get up, and then like get ready, travel to your next job. That sounds like insanity.
Yeah. And and I don't think he's working as a pharmacist, but he works at a pharmacy. Like, you kind of need to be paying attention to what you're doing here and what's going on.
What pharmacy do you work overnight?
Yeah.
You know what that sounds like it might have been? You know that Kaiser Pharmacy, it's out in like Dublin or San Ramon, somewhere out there.
They have a 24-hour, does Kaiser have a 24-hour pharmacy?
It's not it's their pharmacy facility where they fill you get your prescriptions through the mail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like this big warehouse. I know someone who used to work there. It's like this big warehouse, and it's just all they do is just fill these orders and then ship them out. I bet you that's where he worked.
But he's IT, so I wonder if it was like computer stuff.
He's IT?
Wasn't he a tech guy? I thought that's what he was doing at the County of Alameda.
No, he was working for, like, he said he had something to do with, approving Medi-Cal benefits.
Oh, that's right. I guess
Department of Social Services.
Okay. I don't know why I'm sorry. I saw he was kind of geeky. I made an assumption. I made an assumption that I shouldn't have and assumed that he was like IT. So you're right. I remember him saying that.
Yeah. He's like a county, caseworker, yeah.
And this pharmacy job, how much could that really pay him? An hour? I mean,
not a lot.
What, $20 an hour? 25?
Maybe. Well, yeah, this is back in, 2006.
But yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's insane. Truly
No, it's insane. And he basically has no life. He doesn't see his kid. Really doesn't even have a relationship with Rosa.
Yeah.
And then she asks him for a divorce. And then she just left. She took off.
She kicked him out. She basically, he said she had complete control over all their assets. Like, they continued to fight. And so she's just like, okay, she would threaten divorce. And then, finally, he said it was like March 2007. So their daughter is now about a year old, not even a year old. And they separate. And basically, Rosa kicks him out. And she had complete control of everything. He had nowhere to go. So she had to go to grandma.
He had to go to Sally's.
Yeah. And Sally, of course, took him in.
He said, of course, he was depressed. He started taking medication for depression because who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just horrible. And yeah, so at least he had his grandmother.
Yeah. Like, where would he, I mean, his father's there too, but it didn't seem like the dad was offering. I mean, I get the sense that like he really had nowhere to go, nowhere to be, and that grandma took him in and that they were very, very close. That's one thing that comes out a lot. Well, they were very close.
How did she get control over everything? How did she, the house, was that his house that she moved into? Or they never
they never said that.
We don't know if he owned a house and she moved in, but she got herself on the title. She got herself on title to all these bank accounts. She controlled everything. I don't even know if he was even on the bank account. But,
and again, I think that it's a certain personality that would, I think he's really passive until he's pushed. And, but basically what happened was that he asked Rosa, could I come and see my daughter? On her first birthday. It's her first birthday coming up. And Rosa said no. And basically that's what it was. He got pissed and he sued for custody. And this is where everything started to, you think it was bad up until now, things really start going off the rails. And this stuff that Rosa did, this is the stuff that irritates me. This is like, I feel like the punishments need to be harsher for people who do this. So Rosa emails his job saying that he's off his meds and he's threatening to shoot up the place. And so what they do is they suspend him for several months to have this investigation. And he ends up eventually being ordered to see a psychiatrist and he got cleared. But that was like 3-4 months of him not earning money, I bet you, like not working for this. I mean, why would this investigation take, I was just like, this takes this long, but it's Alameda County, like it's a county. Of course they have to go through all that stuff, but how is it that one person can just call up and then this opens up this whole thing?
Yeah, I didn't hear them say that it took months, but I wouldn't doubt it because, yeah, it's this big county and things work slowly and there's a process they have to go through for investigating these types of claims. But you know what pisses me off too about her, is that she later makes, this comes up next. The next thing is that once he gets cleared from this claim
and gets
up the place.
Yeah. And gets 50% custody.
Yeah. He gets 50% custody. Well, their baby is now like a toddler. So he's missed out on all this time.
First steps.
With his daughter. Yeah. So now Rosa comes up with a new allegation. And she says that he sexually abused their daughter. Now, on many levels, this is disturbing because here's what happens. Some kook like this does this. And because of that, like, what about all the people who make actual, real, credible claims, of sexual abuse, whether it's male or female or whatever. And then, people don't want to believe it, because someone else lied in the situation. And I mean, this is just awful. And couldn't they put 2 and 2 together that she had previously accused him of something that turned out to be false? Like,
well, and what that whole thing is, when that came up, that turned out to be false. And I understand why then they were like, okay, 50-50 custody, but there needed to be more of a punishment for Rosa for making that call. For lying, and you wasted resources. That's whole thing, the whole Sherry Papini thing, right? They were making her pay back all of the money for all of the time all the money and time that they spent, like looking for her with this false situation. It's like, why wasn't Rosa punished? Like that, I'm sorry, you should go to jail. You should do time if you do that. I'm sorry. I'm just so sick of this stuff. Like, maybe it's her first offense and she doesn't, but she has to pay all the money back and there has to be something. And then this needs to be like in her record somewhere. Like it needs to be a legal issue. Like, that's there. So then when you get the second claim about the sex abuse, but again, it's another story of someone who, again, wasting resources, wasting time. So wrong.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I had a client who he and his ex, they had a contentious thing and she threatened that too. Like I think she did it. And it was a mess and it turned out wasn't true. And then the two of them, I met him after the fact, but I remember him telling me the story and it's awful. And then she would come back around and want to get back together with him. And he would kind of like start to like want to give in. And I was just like, hold on. I was always like, this is the same person that went through the steps of accusing you of child abuse and made you do all this stuff. Really?
Yeah, because when they find out, very quickly that this allegation of sexual abuse is fabricated. I mean, the court did, give the child to Eric and he had 85% physical custody, 100% legal custody. But why wasn't she prosecuted?
Yes.
She was never prosecuted for that. And I can't remember. I have this written down here. This is kind of random, but I don't know who said this. Was it if it was Eric or if it was the DA that May kind of pushed Rosa on Eric because she really wanted a grandchild. Like that was the whole motivation here. And I don't know that they just kind of said that randomly, but then it never went anywhere. But I think that's true.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like if you look back on it, you go,
at the very end, you see, this woman was in this like because the lengths that they go to try to stop him from, having any custody at all are totally extreme.
So do you think that Rosa never wanted to ever get married ever? Do you think she wanted to have a child, or do you think that it was all just her mom's?
I think she wanted to please her mom. I think her mom was extremely controlling over her. And if she really wanted a grandchild really badly, more than anything, we see that whatever May wants, May gets, and she'll go to any length to get it. So I think that, Rosa was just kind of under her spell a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because this was not all her idea. She did not act alone in any of
No.
in any of it at all. So yeah, then we meet the DA, the deputy DA, who prosecuted not, as we said, there was no prosecution for the sexual abuse allegations, but the later prosecution that we'll get to.
Yeah. Well, what really set them off was basically after these two accusations, Rosa got stripped of everything. She was, Eric now had 100% legal custody and 85% physical custody. So nothing they did worked. And she's made it worse for herself.
Yeah. And then she started being extremely uncooperative. And obviously CPS was involved. They show some reports and they say, Child Protective Services. And they're saying that she's acting bizarre. She's acting bizarre with CPS and with the court-ordered mediation. And I'm just thinking, why is this woman getting 15% custody? She should be getting 0 and then maybe like some supervised custody or supervised visits, once a week or something. This woman's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and also, what else could Eric have done at this point? Like, would a restraining order work? I don't know if he even has enough for a restraining order. Like, what do you do?
Well, if she was violating court orders, you can take her to court for being in contempt of court. She could go to jail. You can, I don't know what she was doing to him outside of all of this. If he never talked about whether she threatened him or showed up at his house or did anything that would be a basis for a restraining order. Not like a restraining order would have stopped these people.
No. No, it would.
Wait till we get there.
Yeah. Well, I think we're here because basically it goes right to, it's January 7th, 2009. So now he's been dealing, Rosa's been in his life for 7 years. And the daughter is now 3, something like that. And so if this is 2009 and it must have been just hell. Like it must have been just one thing after another. Eric's still living with his grandmother. He's pretty much got, custody of the child, and grandma has a boyfriend named Lester. And, Lester and she were together for about 11 years. They were very much in love and they would spend time together. And one of the things they would do is they would have their cocktails together at 4:00 if they were not
over the
phone. So Lester calls her at 4:00 on the 7th and is like, "Where are you?" And then he calls back, "Where are you?" And he's calling and calling and calling. And by 5:00, he sends his son and daughter-in-law over to the house because Sally doesn't drive. She doesn't, where could she be? So they're knocking on the door and no one answers. And then Eric pulls up and Eric's like, "Oh, that's so weird. My grandmother's not responding." Okay. And he opens up the door. He goes into the house. He goes upstairs to find his grandmother. And then all of a sudden, and I just loved all the pictures, those little sketches they do.
Oh, they do these little cartoons.
Yes.
Reenactment cartoons.
And you see him going up the stairs and then here's dun, 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 Rosa. Rosa.
Well, I think he saw May first.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. He sees her first and he's like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" But then Rosa is also there and she tasered him.
Yes. And May hit him with a baton. And they just start beating the crap out of him.
Now, where was the daughter?
The daughter-in-law and son?
No, the
little girl.
The little girl.
So I think she was
She came into
there.
the house with Eric, right?
Yes, I believe so. So I think the two of them. So I think that like he's like, oh, let me go investigate. I think that they go running up the stairs. He gets attacked by May and Rosa. I think the little girl maybe runs, or maybe they put her. Maybe Rosa grabbed her and
They
locked
said
her
she
in a
was
room.
locked in a bathroom or something.
Yeah, and I think that was the other thing. I was like, so then the son and the daughter-in-law went next door.
Yeah, well, they're still outside. They didn't go into the house. They're standing outside waiting for Eric to investigate.
Yeah,
And then they start hearing, someone yelling, and because May and Rosa are beating him
yeah,
with a baton,
kicking him.
Yeah, they're beating him, and he's trying to fight them off, but there's two of them. So they hear like this yelling and this commotion. So they go to the neighbor's house to call 911, and they play the 911 tape. And again, these 911 operators are always really rude. But anyway, so the police are on their way, but in the meantime, they're still beating him. And then Rosa pulls a gun on him,
Mm-hmm.
and they're demanding that he give up custody of the kid, pointing a gun at him. And May is saying, "I'm your friend." They're trying to talk him into this. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, I don't think that Eric, because it's so funny how when he first described Rosa as being like, oh, she was very pragmatic and she was an engineer and, how smart she was. But it's a little bit like, these are the dumbest criminals
They are
ever. The
truly.
worst. They should have been like the dumbest criminals ever. I mean, for two people that quote unquote are supposed to be smart, they're dumbasses. Like they failed every single thing.
Yeah,
they did.
And he says that he can hear as they're doing this. They got this gun to his chest, and he can hear his kid locked in the bathroom screaming, and he just says, "I didn't want to die,"
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of started crying.
Yeah,
it was really sad, and it was yeah. So then the police finally show up.
Mm-hmm.
They come in through the garage. They hear Eric screaming, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And they happen upon this scene where there's blood, there's like the taser, there's like all this stuff. It's this chaotic scene. And they don't know who is the victim, who is the aggressor. You got these two women. You have Eric, who is distraught, and he tries to flee into another room just to get away from Rosa and the gun.
Yeah.
And then the police have to tase him again.
Poor Eric.
Twice.
He got tased twice. And he was like, that taser was really powerful. Poor Eric. It's like tased twice, beaten up, oh God. And so they put him in the back of a cop car. Poor guy.
Yeah. Well, they don't know. We don't
know. But I mean, again, it's just like
they have to assess what's happening. And May, they showed a picture of her. Her face is all bloody. I don't know how she got so beaten up in this whole thing.
Well, I think he said he started to kick back and hurt back. So he would kick one and do this and do that. Yeah. So maybe he got in something.
He got a hold of the baton. Like she dropped the baton.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He got a hold of it. So he got some good swings in on her.
He whacked her hard.
He whacked her because her whole face was all bloody, and she was a mess. But what's her face had no blood on her.
Rosa.
She was just standing there with the gun, like
Yeah.
You're gonna get dirty, not get her hands dirty here.
Well. But they did find, so when they separate them, they find, a couple things. So one is that Eric keeps asking about his grandmother. He's like, hello, where is my grandmother? Where is my grandmother? And then the other thing is they discover the gun in Rosa's pocket. And they're starting to piece some things together here. Like, wait a second, hold on.
Well, and they find the child.
Yes,
he's like, my child's in here. So they, of course, someone from CPS comes, takes the child, and so I guess May gets taken away in an ambulance. Rosa gets taken down to the station
to be interviewed.
Everybody says that May and Rosa are just very calm.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of calm, cool, calculated. they don't seem distraught, whereas Eric is extremely distraught.
Mm-hmm.
And they still can't find Sally.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
Yeah. So the cops are already, I mean, thank God this isn't one of those stories where poor Eric goes and spends a couple years in prison because of something he didn't do. But like these cops get wind pretty quickly of, they're already on Rosa. They're like, no, we knew she was deceptive. But her story was that Eric went crazy, has been lashing out at her that he had a gun, but lost the gun. And then that's how it ended up in her pocket because she picked it up. But the cops were like, but hold on a second. You don't live there.
Yeah. Why are you even in this house? You guys are estranged.
Yeah. So he's like, Eric has a reason to be in that house.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he be in his own house, wait for you to, it's sort of like wait for you to show up and then whip out a gun. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit like, oh, good, you're finally here. We're estranged, but I'm fine. I'm so happy you finally showed up at the house.
There's no reason for you and your mom to be over to his house where he lives.
Yeah. But eventually, so they're searching for grandma, searching. And they go into the backyard, they go into the shed, they peek in, they open it up, and they see these feet sticking out of basically a garbage
can. I know.
Yeah.
Horrific.
So they rule that she had been strangled and there were other wounds. So it sounds like she put up a fight. Sally put up a fight. But basically May and Rosa killed her.
Yeah, and they were gonna try to pin it on Eric.
Yeah, this was okay. Tell everyone their master plan. Because it was it had so many problems and so many ways it could go wrong. For two people who planned this, not good.
Yeah. So they were going to murder Sally, make it look like Eric did it, and get him to write a confession saying that because that he killed her because she confronted him about sexual abuse of his child. And then Eric would kill himself and she's doing all this to kind of clear her name.
Yes.
And because he was the bad one all along. He's the molester.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they were going to make it look like he then killed himself. Their plan was stupid to begin with, but they couldn't carry out any portion of it. And this is where, this is not funny. Obviously, this is.
Are you talking about all the
tragic
stuff they bought?
Yeah. The notes.
Yeah.
Well, first, these people they also found a black backpack in the home that was full of all this stuff like rope.
I wrote it down.
Hunting knife.
Crossbows, rope, a hunting knife. My favorite, throwing star. A throwing star. Handcuffs, glass cutter, and a pry bar. Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellows wherever you get your podcasts.
And then in Rosa's car, there was a samurai sword and leg irons.
Yeah, and these cops are like, what the? Like, this is stuff, they're like, leg irons? Like, what?
Yeah.
Huh?
That one detective, that woman detective, Detective Sanchez, she describes it as a burglary kidnap pack.
Yes. Essentially. Yeah. Yeah. But they have all this stuff on them in her car, all of it. And
like what were they going to do? I mean, it's like they had all this equipment, random equipment, but really no real plan. I mean, the whole thing was.
Well, so they find out that the two of them are living in Brentwood, which is, so this is out in Dublin. Brentwood's, I don't know how far away from Dublin, like
Maybe
20
like
minutes or something.
20, 30 minutes. I don't know.
And at their house, they find the tag that's associated with the gun in Rosa's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't even throw the tag away. They found all the notes. So again, I'm a big note. I like to make lists.
These notes are so
I like to make lists myself, and I think it's important. But if you're going to murder someone or try to carry this out, burn the notes. Like once you're done with them. But I love that they had to write down item 1, save baby. 2, kill grandma.
Yeah. These are a few. This isn't everything that was on the list. Oh, and also they said that the lists were in both of their handwritings, so they were, working together. So also on the to-do, and it said to-do list.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like first save the baby, but also get a passport, find out how to modify GPS, get a Nevada license, get more equipment, check the requirements for a pilot's license, and check out an archery club membership. And then my favorite was get a dental appointment for cleaning.
Because before we go on the lam, I want to have clean teeth. Because I don't know when I'm going to see a dentist again. You don't know. But this is the other part too, is that they also learned that Rosa had been stalking Eric for months and knew all of his movements, knew like when he would be home, what would happen here, what would happen there. So this is the other part too, is like they're so, you would think like, oh, that's smart to, follow someone, get a sense. All right. Well, that's what a good criminal does. But they don't even take into account, like, because basically it was Lester. Like in some ways, because if she hadn't had this relationship with Lester, the brother and the son-in-law, like Eric would have just walked in because they're the ones that called the cops. I mean, again,
maybe they could have executed this plan.
They could. Well, I don't think they were ever going to get away with it because they were such idiots. But like, basically, you didn't think this through enough. Like, you don't know grandma's movements, and you don't know enough about this, and so basically, like, that's kind of what happened.
Right. Lester cracked the case because they said earlier in the show that these 4:00 phone calls, like you could set your clock by it, like it was clockwork every day.
Yeah.
4:00. That's why when he called at 4, she didn't answer. He called at like 4:02.
Yeah.
She didn't answer. He called at 4:07. That's why he was beside himself. He's like, something is wrong.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't dispatched his son over there, God knows what would have happened.
Because they could hear because they called 911 because they heard the noise. So that's the thing. If Eric had gone in and shut the door and there wasn't anyone else with them, that may have worked. But the problem is that they didn't take into account that maybe someone would be there too. And so what's so interesting about that is it seemed like this was a very set routine. They had been together 11 years. It's a very set routine. So Rosa never even paid that much attention to grandma to even put 2 and 2 together and be like, she has a steady boyfriend and sometimes she's over there and sometimes she's not. Like, boy, you really didn't pay any attention to anything that was going on around you.
She wasn't around long enough. I mean, my God, she asked for a divorce before, just shortly after the baby was born. I mean,
I don't know. I just kind of feel like, she probably met all these people for the first time. You hear about Lester. You take that in of like, oh, they have this very close relationship and oh, they're together a lot. And no, not part of her stalking. Like she did none of that. And then the other thing she did, again, this was a different time because we know so much more now. This was 2009. But again, they go on her computers. What are they searching?
Funny.
How to commit murder.
Yeah.
What were some of the like how to commit murder? How long would it take to bury a body? I mean, I don't know every last question, like, how do you poison someone? How do you poison someone to murder them? How do you do this? How do you do that? Like, Googled every last thing. So they concluded that I think basically the murder was blamed on Rosa. Like, Rosa that Rosa killed Sally, but May contributed to it. And yeah, this was Operation. This whole thing was called Operation Custody.
Yeah, because they found DNA on the taser that belonged to Sally and to Rosa. So they surmised, I guess, that Rosa tasered her, got her, out of commission and then strangled her.
Yeah.
So Rosa was found guilty of murder and attempted murder of Eric. Got 25 years to life, which obviously she's never going to get out. May was convicted of premeditated attempted murder and got a life sentence.
Yeah, and that seemed odd to me. Like, why would she get 25 years to life, but May would get life?
I think that's kind of sloppy filmmaking. I think that they just didn't express the sentences correctly. Because like in California, I mean, 25 to life is the upper, no one gets out if you get that kind of sentence. I'm sure she got 25 to life as well. They just, I don't know why they phrased it differently. I think it was.
So what, 25 to life, it means that someone,
it means
most people,
you're eligible
after 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah. After 25 years, you're eligible for parole, but that would have to be approved by the parole board and the governor. That would never happen in a case like this.
Got it. Okay.
But some people, as you know, do get life without the possibility of parole.
Yeah. So why wouldn't they get life without the possibility of parole? I mean, she killed someone. They killed someone.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe because it was her first offense.
Yeah. I mean, but it might have been that. But I also think that some of this stuff, right? I think, what's so interesting about this is, Asian women, there's two Asian women. And I think that people see, and assume, just like I assumed Eric was an engineer, was a software engineer, that, right. I wonder if that took into account the sentencing. I just wonder if right.
Because it seemed because it was out of character. It's not like some gang member, murdering somebody.
I don't know. It's interesting. So,
but the judge would have been in charge of the sentencing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just wondering if the judge had their own unaware bias. I don't know. Just a thought.
I don't know.
But I did a little research that these two women, they are both at Chowchilla, which is, the only women's facility in California. Rosa is now 49 years old and May is 71. And that in 2015, May's murder conviction got overturned because I think that the murder, the murder conviction got overturned because there was something about that it really was Rosa that killed Sally, that they didn't have enough evidence to prove that May was involved or something. But apparently, but they just basically said it didn't change anything. She's still convicted of the other things. And they were just like, you're still staying in prison.
Well, that's interesting because when this show was made, which I think is recently, right? Like this is a new series. Yeah, by that time, that charge had already gone away. So that's why the cut says May was convicted of premeditated attempted murder.
Got it. Okay.
So it was the attempted murder of Eric. So I guess she was probably originally also convicted of the murder of Sally.
Yes.
So they were both convicted of the same things. Okay, that makes sense.
But they're together. I don't know if they're in the same pod, but they're both at Chowchilla. Could they be forced to, right? Like, could they both be at Chowchilla, but never be in two different sections and never see each other and can't communicate?
Possibly. I don't know how it works there. Because I'm sure they're both going to be, because of the offenses and the sentence, like more of a maximum security area. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. So basically, the ending is we learn that Lester was devastated. So, and he died less than a year later, which that's the first thing I thought was like, oh, he's not going to last very long. He really missed her. And everyone was very happy, that they were together 11 years. It seemed like maybe this might have been a great love of hers. And now Eric says he's doing really well now. He's living, he basically is like, I'm now living this life that Rosa and I talked about, like with our child and enjoying things. And, he's like, it's not easy being a single dad, but he's like, she's an artist. She's great. We get to see pictures of her and she's grown up. And I don't think they're that recent, but I think that he's just like, I'm, really happy.
Yeah, he says she's now an adult. So she was born in 06.
06. So she's now 14, 18?
18. Okay.
And maybe this is why he's telling the story now. Like now that she's an adult. I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't show any pictures of her in real time.
Yeah, not now. I think the last picture we saw, I want to say she was like maybe 11, 12.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful girl.
Beautiful girl. I mean, Eric seems like a really good guy. It's one of those things. It's like, Rosa, like this guy was a good guy. He was going to love you. He was really going to love you and have this life with you. And you just fucked it all up.
Well, I go back to, I don't think Rosa was really a willing participant in any of this. I believe that this was all orchestrated by May, that she wanted a grandchild. She met this guy at work. She's like, well, this guy's naive. You can tell he's never had a girlfriend before, and he's nerdy and whatever. And, I think she pushed this.
Oh, you don't think it was just an accident? They were both at that hike in 2002.
No. I think she pushed Rosa because clearly Rosa did not really even ever like him. I mean, she could act for a while, she could act like she loved him or whatever, but my God, on the honeymoon, she's already like, trying to fight him. And so it's just, the whole story is so bizarre. There's no way that this Rosa was, I think the May had this super controlling relationship with her. And it's just kind of scary that a woman, that anybody would do this and go to these lengths and all of it.
Yeah, I wish that these stories, I mean, it's an hour long, so you can't do too much. And this whole, like the whole act itself is so crazy that took up a good 20, 30 minutes of the show. But I think that, I wish we had gotten more information about Rosa and her mom, about May, like some people that knew them. Because I kept I agree with you that I think obviously May was controlling. This is what May wanted, that Rosa went along with it. But I also feel like, Rosa was dark too. Like there was stuff going on with Rosa. So it would be one thing if it was just all May. It's like there was stuff going on with Rosa. Rosa had issues. There was some, and I want to just know a bit more about them and their situation and how did we get here? How do we get to this point where this is what's going on? And I would love to figure it out, like to hear from someone being like, yeah, she told everyone she worked in Silicon Valley. She's an idiot. She couldn't get a job.
She never graduated from.
Or she claimed she was this, and this, but she wasn't. I think it would help a bit more of understanding these two women a bit more.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they tried to find someone who knew them, who would be willing to talk to them. And maybe, I guess they just couldn't, because that's a big missing piece of this story. Like, who are these women?
Yeah. Like, where's the dad? Where's Rosa's father?
Yeah. Where's any other family?
Yeah.
Who knew them? Like, someone, please.
Because that's interesting too, because we don't hear, I mean, we see Eric and Eric's extended family, and he seemed to have, a lot of support, but like we never hear about, that side. So do they not have family? Are they who they say they are? All of it. It's just so bizarre. So bizarre. But
so what were some of the other episodes?
Yeah. So the first episode was sort of a typical guy who, one abusive relationship after another, this guy named Ben, who, and you meet the various women in his life, but basically he kind of has a pattern of, love bombing and then coming in and moving in and being really abusive. And he was the
like
first
a Dirty
one.
John.
A little bit. Yeah. But he was younger. But he was in Vegas. He worked in he was like a bartender server, right? He would meet women there. He would, put on a good show. It was cute, but a mess. And then eventually, he was killed by the police. Wow. The second one, it was really heartbreaking. It was this Indian woman who, no, she Indian or middle? No, Indian. And she basically she meets this guy who claims he's a cop. And basically very quickly she realizes, oh, I do not like, like this isn't going to work. Things aren't adding up. So he gets so angry at her that he ends up raping her, and she files charges. And she's like, I am like, she is going to go with this. And right before she's supposed to testify on these charges, he manages to, on this whole time where he's waiting for trial, he puts together this whole crazy subplot, and he gets people to basically make false accusations about her to the police, to the point where she gets arrested and then is thrown in jail and can't get bond. Like, he gets bonded out, but she can't. She's like 7-8 months in prison waiting for all of this stuff to get sorted out. And it was a mess. She finally figured it out. She ended up getting out. They got this guy. It all works out. And in the end, because she was in prison, she lost all that time with her daughter. She lost her restaurant. She lost her apartment. She lost everything. So she sued.
Wow.
She sued the county. She sued because one of these counties knew that this guy was full of shit. Like, some of these guys knew this guy was shady, but still pursued it and did not, like, you've got this guy who's super shady and you've got this woman who's never done anything wrong in her life. And this guy's, and she's being accused of something. And she keeps telling everyone, this guy's trying to set me up because I have this rape trial coming up. And they knew this.
Yeah.
So she gets awarded like $2 million.
Good.
Which I was like, good, thank God. You deserve something. And so that maybe you can rebuild
more than that, but at least.
Oh yeah, she deserves a lot more. But at least she can hopefully rebuild her restaurant. And then the fourth one is, again, another story where a woman meets this guy, and this guy, father, and they have children, and same thing. He just loses his mind and he tries to, like, get her, he needs to be in control, needs to control her and control the children, and basically gets like a cousin of his to go over to the house, to her house, to kill her. But they ended up killing the wrong person. They ended up killing her sister.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's insane.
Oh yeah, this is really dark. I can't watch any more of these.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have said, maybe we should put something in the show notes of, like, if you want to watch the show. So what happened was I watched that first episode, then I started watching the second episode, and I was like, oh, I gotta turn this off. Like, I can't do this. And then I got back into it. And then, you if you're going to watch the show, you got to watch episode and then do something fun. Episode.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a lot.
These shows, they make, because we watched a couple, or I don't know if you watched it, but I watched a couple episodes of that, like inmate to roommate. And
yeah, we watched that. That's a good one.
There's one that's like, this one's worst ex ever. There's something about the worst roommate.
Yeah, and this is a takeoff of this. Because Worst Roommate Ever was a popular show.
Right. So I thought it would be more along those lines of, this person was really horrible, but no one was killed.
Have you seen The Worst Roommate Ever? People are killed in that too.
They are?
Yes. Some of these roommate kills people. Like, that's why she's the worst roommate ever.
This makes these inmate to roommate people look great.
Yes.
Like, at least they don't kill anyone. There's no killing on that show.
Yeah. See, this is the part that I guess I just have such a hard time with, was you're sitting around your house and you're writing out save the baby and tasers and guns and what did you think? Like, oh, we'll clean this all up when we get back.
Right.
No problem. We won't possibly get caught.
They're just leaving evidence all over the place.
Oh, yeah, in the car.
Willy-nilly.
Well,
it's all over their house.
And it's a little bit like, this was such, you put all this together, and then you had this well executed plan, but you didn't plan for any contingencies at all, not a one. And why do you need, like, wouldn't you get just enough equipment that you need? Like, it's almost like, no, let's, get the samurai sword. Ooh, get the shooting stars. Get this
crossbow.
Get this. Get the crossbow.
So in case the knife doesn't kill him, we have these crossbows. We have a backup plan.
Yeah, a gun alone would work.
I think that would have been sufficient.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. That's what I mean. These people are clearly just something's very, very wrong with them. And how this happened, I don't know.
When you were doing criminal defense, you had a crossbow case, right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, that was David Sternfeld's case.
Oh, that wasn't you.
But it came up frequently in conversation.
I know. Everyone loved talking about the crossbow.
Yeah. So, yeah, this guy was, I can't remember if he killed the person or just gravely injured them. But in the middle of a city, middle of urban.
Oakland. Was it Oakland?
Oakland, probably. Maybe it could have been outside of Oakland and some other county of Alameda County or part of Alameda County. But yeah, he shot someone with a crossbow.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know how big those things are? Like the big ones,
no. Max got into archery for a little while, but and it was a little bit like you're like, yeah, this really could hurt someone.
They kill animals with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. He would want to practice it in our backyard, and I'm like, okay, and I was like, okay, well, it's got to be small, it's got to be over here, and I'm like, I'm like shoving the dogs back in the house. I'm like, please don't come out here now. Like, no, he's in a crossbow, but he's over that now. He was really into that show Arrow about who's the superhero that shoots the crossbow? It'll come to me.
I don't know. I'm not good with superheroes. Yeah. Wow.
So whatever happened? Did the guy get convicted? The crossbow?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But it just went on for a long time, and then it just became like a joke, like
the crossbow
guy.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's just thinking this through. And then I wonder, like, they're both sitting in prison together, like wondering, do they ever turn to each other and go, God, that was dumb.
That was a dumb idea.
Why do we do this? I could be with my daughter right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. If she wanted a grandchild and she wanted they wanted to have this baby and they clearly didn't want this guy in their life, just go to a sperm bank.
Or I don't know, just kind of go to a bar one night.
Right.
And look around like, she's the woman, right? When you're ovulating, get an ovulation. I'm going to tell you right now how you do this. You get an ovulation kit. You go to a bar. You meet someone attractive. Like, you want some good genes in there. Someone who can carry on a conversation. You go home. You bang him. You tell him you're on the pill. And then you never see him again. And he never knows. He never knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until your kid goes and does that genealogy thing and then finds out who you are and then tracks you down and says hello. And you're like, wait, who are you? What happened? But that's the part I don't get.
Because I think it's a culturally and religiously, that would be too shameful to have
a child out of wedlock.
You got to be married, and then you got to. But what's the point if you're just going to divorce the person?
Yeah,
the person. But I guess what? So I was married for long enough. I don't know.
Well, culturally, couldn't you be like, oh, I got married and then I got pregnant and then he died unexpectedly, like. He
died in a crossbow accident.
What is it? I keep saying shooting stars, throwing stars. Stars. Has anyone ever seen a throwing star outside of a samurai, like a karate martial arts
seen
film?
One in real life? No.
What did you think those shooting stars? And then you have to explain how Eric has shooting stars. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you then explain that he has shooting like the how do you explain that?
Yeah, this mild-mannered, count social worker
has a samurai sword and all of this equipment, several tasers. That was the other thing they talked about too, is that they found at the house, sets of two tasers, 2 guns, 2 things here, 2 this, and they're like,
yeah. So they were just going to double team him. If your taser doesn't work, then I got my taser.
Yeah, a backup taser. backup taser. But again, they didn't at all think like, oh, if we get caught.
Well, they didn't even bring all this stuff with them. So it was all just sitting at their house, which was a mess. I mean, because some of these houses, like piles of clothes.
Oh,
everywhere,
yeah.
piles of stuff everywhere, piles of bags from the stores where they bought all this stuff. And yeah, I guess they thought they'd never get caught. So
Mhm.
we can just leave all this right here out in the open,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
leave their notes, their to-do list. What were they planning on leaving the country? Because they're
I
talking
don't
about
know.
getting a passport or going to Nevada. They need a Nevada license, maybe getting a pilot's license so they can flee the country. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah. I wonder if they ever got that dental cleaning.
Um,
Was it checked off? Was it crossed out?
it was not. It
Oh,
was
no.
not.
Oh, God. Well, they're getting their teeth cleaned in prison now. Yeah.
God,
Anyway,
so
God,
weird.
it has a happy ending. All of these stories have semi-happy endings. I mean, this obviously is awful.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure
Poor
Eric
Sally
feels
didn't have
Sally
a
and
happy
Lester,
ending.
but I can't imagine. Eric doesn't talk about this, but I can imagine for him, he must feel tremendous guilt and just awful that he brought this woman into this life that then hurt his grandmother, that then it destroyed the family and Lester and his father and everybody. I mean, I can't imagine how hard that is to carry around with him. And and I bet you anything, May and Rosa justified it by being like, well, she's old.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything bad. She's going to die anyway very soon. So let's just kill her. Like, why kill her? And you could obviously, take her. So she was, elderly, but the whole thing is just, it's awful, but it makes me very happy.
The child, that doesn't have a mother.
And went through trauma.
Yeah, went through all that trauma. I don't know how bonded she ever was to her, what she even remembers.
Yeah. But it makes me happy that they're like, he talks about that, like how he loves being a father, how he, it seems like he really loves being a dad and really has taken this very seriously and loves his child. And I'm glad they're together.
Yeah.
So, and I hope he met someone else.
Yeah, not anyone from work. Like, try to find someone,
and not through their mother.
No,
just hopefully someone on their own.
Match.com or something.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets like a battery of tests done every time he goes on a date. Poor guy.
I know, I'm so old. I'm like Match.com. It's like people. I don't know if people do that anymore.
No,
I think it's all the apps.
Yes,
got to go on the apps.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy our podcast, there's different ways to support us. One is by leaving us a 5-star rating and review. Those always really do help us and help other people find the podcast. You can subscribe to make sure that you are getting every episode right there in your feed each week. And you can also check us out on Patreon. We have a Patreon where we have bonus episodes every week. We do a special true crime just for our Patreon, and then Ask Us Anything, where you can ask us questions about mental health or about legal issues. So go check us out, patreon.com/psychlegalpodcast. And spread the word, tell your friends and about the show, and we'll see you all next time.
Okay. All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.